Hello, and welcome to another edition of Questions for Lawyers. I'm Jeff Adelman of the law firm of Brotman, Nussbaum, Ibrahim, and Adelman, and I am proud to bring to you one of my good friends, Bruce Rosenwater, who I've known for quite a long time. Bruce and I got to know each other when we served on the Florida Bar Clients Security Fund. He is a real estate attorney. He does divorce work as well. And I'm just very pleased to have him with us here today. Bruce, how you doing?
Great, Jeff. Good afternoon. Good to see you again. Brought up a lot of good times. I thought that was a great committee we were on, and we were able to do a lot for people that were taken advantage of by bad attorneys and able to help them. And I think it was one of the more important committees, and it was a fun committee, and it was good working with you on that committee.
Yeah, and we made a lot of good friends on that committee. And again, a lot of people don't know the Florida Bar does that kind of work where people have their money taken by certain lawyers who aren't practicing anymore. There is a committee to apply to get some relief when the courts can't give you any. So the Florida Bar Client Security Fund was very proud to serve as chair of that committee, and it was great being on there with you, Bruce. But tell me a little bit about your practice in Palm Beach County.
Okay, Jeff, I've been practicing in Palm Beach County for quite some time. I don't want to even go into the year that I started. It would be dating me, but when I first started practicing, I was working for a large savings and loan, and we took over a lot of property from developers that went bad. So I was dealing with large real estate projects. And then thereafter, when I went on my own, I've been dealing with residential, and I do represent commercial developers. Some do multifamily and some do shopping centers and other developments. But a lot of my practices are just any individual, the simple home transaction where you're a first-time buyer or people that have been buying for a long time. We try to help them get the home of their dreams.
Well, I'm sure that in this environment that we've had for the past couple of years, everyone knows that the South Florida real estate market has been so hot, and I'm sure you've been quite busy in your real estate part of your firm.
Yeah. Well, that's true. The market has been very hot, but on the other hand, the real estate market for attorneys, it's there's not a lot of inventory. So it's like for brokers and attorneys, you would think you were having a lot of transactions. So a lot of the properties, like I know in my development where I live, we would typically have 10% of the homes on the market at any time. Now you're lucky to see one home on the market, and that person is pretty much sends out something by direct message. I'm looking for a buyer for my home, and people send them people, and you don't even have a realtor involved in the transaction. And they're bidding. They have a bidding war on the home. So it's a great market, but there's the volume is not as much as it was previously. If you want to, the prices are a lot higher, but the volume's down.
Well, let me ask you this, Bruce. Given the fact that brokers, I mean, they're still active, but there's a lot of buy owner sales going on. Do buyers and sellers still need attorneys, even if they're not getting brokers involved in their transactions?
Even more so, because these are lay people, most of them. And so if there's a broker involved in the transaction, and a broker that's a good real estate broker, they can help their client. And most of those real estate brokers are going to lead them to an attorney for someone to represent them on the legal issue. So it's very foolish to proceed with a transaction without having an attorney or someone that can go over the nuances and make sure that there's no title issues, or there's no do the proper searches to make sure there's no municipal liens against the property, or any defects in title. So they'd be foolish not to get someone to represent them legally.
I think what keeps people from getting attorneys involved sometimes is they worry about the cost. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. How does it work with attorneys' fees when you're doing a real estate transaction? And talk about title insurance.
Okay. Typically, Jeff, in Palm Beach County, in most counties, they use what is called a standard FAR bar contract. And in that contract in Palm Beach County, the seller is typically the one that chooses the party to do the title work and pays for the title insurance. Now, if there's a loan involved in the transaction and a lender's policy, that'll be something different. But typically, if you're representing the seller, the same attorney or the person handling the closing would issue the loan policy as well. And it can get what is called a simultaneous issue. So it's a lot cheaper for the buyer to use the same individual to do that end of the transaction as well. But the title insurance, the title company or the attorney that's handling that gets paid a premium, and it's based upon a rate that's set by the state. And so usually, depending on the transaction, that's how you base your attorney's fees. Because if you're representing an individual buyer or seller not doing the title, you basically charge either an hourly rate or if it's a flat rate depending on the transaction. But typically, if the attorney's handling the title, their client's going to get a lower attorney's fees because they get the premium from the title policy.
In terms of attorney's fees, what can people expect if they're getting the title insurance and all that? I mean, again, we're talking about large transactions, mostly the largest transactions that individuals will have in their lifetimes. So give them an idea of what the real cost is.
Well, typically, I mean, if you're selling the home, probably it's going to be with the realtors and all the other costs, you're going to have be about 10% of the sales price. On the buyer, if they're not paying for title or having their attorney do the title work, they're going to be paying either a flat fee, depending on the transaction. If it's a loan involved, there's more work. If it's a cash closing, there's less work. It just, typically it's the case by case. I mean, if it's a simple transaction, you're going to see fees anywhere. I think attorneys charge anywhere between $500 and $1,500 for just to handle the closing without doing the title work.
So for $500 to $1,500, you can avoid a lot of headaches after the transaction.
That is true.
What type of problems could somebody have by not doing their due diligence and having a legal professional looking over the closing documents?
Well, they may buy a property that the seller didn't have title to. You never know. There's a lot of scams in South Florida. They may have large liens against the property that occurred from the previous owner, maybe doing work on the property without a permit, or not closing an open permit that needs to be closed, or they had code enforcement liens that have never been satisfied that are run into the tens of thousands of dollars. Going through it, there may be previous issues regarding defects in the title. You never know. And that's why you have an attorney come in there and check everything out.
Understood. And in comparison to the purchase price, it's peanuts is what you're really telling me.
Exactly.
Is now a real good time to refinance your home if, in fact, you are already in a residence?
It depends on what your rate is presently. I mean, the rates are still low, but they are going up. So, and if you plan to stay there for some time, yeah, it's a good time.
Tell us how that works, how that process works, refinancing a home.
Well, refinancing a home is you have a mortgage on your home and you have your rate may be 7% or a higher interest rate. And you may have built up some equity in the house that you need for maybe do home improvements or other work, or you just may want to just lower your payments, and the interest rates, up to recently were very low. I mean, there were rates for a 30-year mortgage under 3%. People are paying 2 point something for interest on your home. They'd be foolish not to refinance if your prior rate was 5, 6, 7%, unless you were in the house for a long time and you've paid off most of your principal balance.
Gotcha. So what other type of real estate issues do you deal with besides closings and refinance?
Okay. Well, basically, we deal with anything that may come up. I mean, a lot of times there's uh, matters where maybe there's two people that are on title and they don't get along. There's disputes, and you're going to have to partition the property because the parties can't agree on who's going to get the property. So you have to file an action to partition the property. There may be actions to quiet title. There may be something of on the title that needs to be removed, and you have to file a quiet title action. Sometimes you have boundary disputes with the adjacent property owner, that maybe the fence that's on their property or not. So there's always issues that come. In real estate, there's so many issues that could happen.
Understood. Now, we're in 2022 now, and in the past 2 years, so many things have changed. I know with my business, and I'm sure with yours as well. How has well, we're on Zoom right now.
Mhm.
How has video conferencing, DocuSign, all these digital options that we all use in everyday life, how has that affected real estate practice?
I think, it's like any other practice now. A lot of it helps. And you have remote notaries. So basically, you don't have to be in the same place to have the document notarized. A lot of documents can be signed electronically now. So you may not even see or deal with any of the parties that you're dealing with involved in the transaction. You may not meet if the seller, you may not meet the buyer, the buyer's attorney, the title company. Your attorney's going to give you documents you can sign electronically and send them back. If it's a loan closing, some lenders have electronic packages that you can sign. So it does make a big difference, and it makes it, frankly, a lot easier.
You don't see a lot of sitting around the round table and everybody trading the documents and all that.
No, no.
That's definitely an improvement for sure. Now, it may seem obvious, but with the South Florida market being what it is, I mean, the reasoning for it, is it just a lot of people from the north coming down here during COVID? Is that the main drive for real estate going up, or are there other reasons?
I think at the beginning of COVID, I think you had a lot of people that were from the Northeast that were coming down here, and they found it to be a lot cheaper. So they were able to, with the limited inventory, bid up the prices, and it still be, relatively inexpensive for them. Where the person that's been living down here would find it pretty expensive with the homes, what they're selling for. But I think you still see other people coming in, especially in Miami, from Latin America. You still have a lot of other those people coming in. You have people that are buying homes to invest. You do have a lot of second homes, third homes sometimes. So, but now I think you're trying to the people that live in South Florida are trying to come into the market and buy a home, but it's hard, as I said before, because there's a very limited inventory. But I don't think we see as many people coming down now that we saw earlier from out of state or.
Understood. So if somebody is looking to sell their home right now and then move into another place, what's the best advice you can give them about preparing for those two transactions?
Well, you're going to get a lot of money for your home. Probably you're going to make a lot of money on your home, but you're going to pay a lot more than you typically would if you're going to buy another property. So maybe if you have the ability to do so, and if you aren't bothered by not owning, you may want to just maybe try to rent a home or something for a period of time, or maybe a condo, and then wait for the prices to come down and stabilize, and then jump back in, unless there are some deals still out there. So people are finding deals, but it's sticker shock. You're going to be paying, you made a lot of money, but you're going to pay a lot more money on your next home if you're going to buy another home.
What do you foresee for the rest of this year in the real estate market? Is it going to stay as high as it is?
It appears that it is. We haven't seen anything, any indications that it's moving any other way. Now, if interest rates go up significantly, that may have a change on the market.
All right, but as of now, we don't know if or when that's going to happen.
Correct.
All right. Is there anything else that you think or anything you'd like to share with the audience just about real estate transactions in general? Any advice, anything that I haven't asked you that you think might be important?
Well, I think you touched on the most important aspects of a real estate transaction, and especially you need to be properly represented. Unless you're involved in real estate or you've been a realtor or an attorney, get an attorney. It's going to be money well spent, and you're going to be save you a lot of worries and a lot of aggravation. So, don't be penny wise and pound foolish. This is probably one of the major decisions and purchases that you're going to be making in your life, typically to the average person. So it's important to do it the right way. Be represented. You'll be happy. You'll have a lot of more restful nights.
No doubt about it. Bruce, if anybody would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do so?
Okay, my email address is bsr@rosenwater.com. That's the easiest way to reach me. I'm available 24/7. My office number is 561-688-0991. And my office is in West Palm, but we handle transactions throughout Florida. So it's very easy to handle a transaction anywhere in the state of Florida now. We've done, major deals in Tallahassee. We've done it in Jacksonville, all over the place. So it really doesn't matter where you're located. We can handle the situation for you.
Bruce, it's always good seeing you. It's better to see you in person, obviously, and we'll have to do that again very soon.
Yeah,
But I certainly appreciate you coming on. And if you would like to get in touch with Bruce, again, his number is 561-688-0911, Bruce Rosenwater, real estate attorney. I'm so glad that you were able to join us today. If you're interested in being on Questions for Lawyers, feel free to give me a call, 561-417-5656. Or if you have any legal questions whatsoever, you can call me there or you can email me. Again, my name is Jeff Adelman, jeff@lawbni.com. Thank you so much for watching, for listening. Be well, and we'll catch you next time.